Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Survivor Debrief. And today we've got another exit interview, and we are absolutely gutted to be talking to this man. We really thought he was going all the way this time because third time is a charm. The golden boy of Australian Survivor. We've got Simon with us. Simon, how you going, buddy?
Hey, how are you, Eden? Yeah, good, mate. Really good.
How did it go last night, watching it all unfold? Who did you watch it with? How are you feeling now?
Yeah, so I watched with my family in the backyard. I had a big projector up. I had a couple of our Brisbane Survivor crew with us. So Mark and Keely came around, and Baden and Zara were here. So that was quite nice. And I had a couple, like my cousin's kids came along, and like they just it's just that magic of seeing someone on TV and stuff. So, really made that experience for them as well. So that was really cool. And just, yeah, some of my nearest and dearest. My mum bawled her eyes out last night with the family visits and stuff. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And how are you feeling about it all the next day?
Mate, I'm not like even have much of a headspace about say the exit itself, but I'm quite this is my last kind of hurrah. Like I'm, three times around the sun. Like I'm retired now, and so I'm feeling quite grateful and reflective on my entire Survivor career and experience, and it's one filled with a lot of gratitude. So I'm in a really good place.
Oh, that's so awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to the casting for this season. So you get the call up. What's your initial thoughts? Do you jump at it straight away? You're like, yep, let's do it. Or and also, did they tell you the theme straight away? Did you know, okay, it's redemption?
Yeah, I found out the theme pretty early on. And look, when my phone rang for the first time and Phoebe called me, my heart actually sank because it felt a bit soon, and
Yep.
I'm like, oh, here we go. And I just knew that at that point you just know everything that comes with it. It's
Yep.
this was in April last year, and we are now in April now. So it's
Yeah.
it is a 12-month hurrah. And it just it sucks up a lot of energy. It's a huge consideration. It's a massive sacrifice. We now have a toddler. So
Yeah.
it was oh my God, this is really cool, but there's just a lot that needs to go into it. And where we were kind of at with our family and stuff, it probably wasn't the best time to jump at it. And it took a lot to get there. And then finding out it was redemption was exciting. And then I'm like, okay, it makes sense. I knew why I was called. I knew what the how I kind of fit into the story, and I don't think you can have a redemption season without me, given the journey that I've had, which has been so much fun. And yeah, Phoebe and Suarez are really good, and they held my spot until about 3 weeks out when I finally accepted it. So yeah, they were really supportive. But yeah, we made it, and then the rest was history. And I think it just meant I'm so motivated, out there to make the most of that time. And every single moment that I was not going to waste.
Yeah, you could see that as well. You were there to play hard, to really get it done. When you think back to your Brains versus Brawn and your Heroes versus Villains seasons, is there something that you wanted to do differently this season around? Is there something you wanted to specifically change?
I think I still played the same old Simon, and I still took the same approach. I think it was one that was a little bit more considered and refined. But I don't feel like I did too much different. I worked a lot harder with my social game, made a lot more connections, and I sat back a lot at the start, just to let people feel empowered and support them through, so to help them negate my threat level at the start. But I don't know. I feel I did a lot of things that I did in previous seasons that just worked for me this time. This felt like the redemption felt like the returnees versus newbies season that Heroes versus Villains never was.
Yeah.
Because we were able to manage that as a pack and stamp that out. But this one was always that sentiment was always lurking in the background. We couldn't hide that, and I felt it the whole time. So it was always going to be an issue. And then things I remember in Heroes versus Villains, when I tried to rattle the cage of the pawns for, say, Liz, Matt, and Jerry to get them to do something, when I was on the bottom, I had nowhere else to go. I did the same thing this time around, but this time I hit the mark with Jackson and got that moment. So I was still making a lot of noise at the bottom, being abrupt, being in people's faces, and like not rolling over to die quietly. So it was pretty cool to see, some of those things like work after I've, had tried and tested theories and then being able to like execute it in a, just a slightly better, more refined way, which is awesome.
That's so good, man. Now, you mentioned the returnees. So you get there, you're on the beach, and you see who you're playing with. Was there anyone that you wanted to possibly play with out there, or maybe someone you didn't want to see, and your relationship with those guys?
I think like if George had been there, like
You've
I
done
think I
that.
told, yeah, I think I told Thieves, I'm like, look, if he's playing, like I'm out. Like I just don't need this experience to be shared with him for a third time.
Yeah.
So, and then look, I didn't put much thought into it. Like I knew there were only four, and I knew there was a wide range of possibilities. So I didn't put energy into thinking about who it could be. But
Yep.
when I saw, I spoke to Mark before we went on. He told me that he was going. Brooke, Brooke, I found out about about a week out, and then Harry was the surprise for me. But then, so to see Harry, that was really special. As someone like I'm friends with, and just to play with him because he was just one of the rascals that like inspired me to go out and play hard and stuff. So that like really freaking cool to have Harry out there.
Yeah.
And just knowing that there's a level of there wasn't any tension between us. So that's kind of all you could really ask for, going in with another returnee. Because the last thing you want, I think, would to have some conflict between a returnee when you're a threatened species like that.
Yeah, of course. I thought it was a really good, fun mix, and seeing you and Harry together was was awesome. But if we go to the start of the game, I feel like you played the perfect start of the game. I feel like you were really considerate. You seemed like you had a really clear idea of what you had to do at the start of the game to ingratiate yourself with these people, to manage your threat level. That was all very much by design on your ground, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so was. Like I had a very clear plan knowing what I needed to do, but still being adaptable. Like that's always important.
Yeah.
But I was essentially on house arrest for the first 2 weeks. Like, I didn't leave the camp. I didn't leave the shelter. I didn't go looking for idols. Like I worked my absolute ass off. My strategy going in was just, outwit, outlast, outplay, outwork. Like
Yeah.
just go over and above and beyond to ensure that people were looked after, and they were enjoying their experience as much as possible. And I was really quite lucky that at the start, that in my previous season, like kind of doing that and looking out for people and helping out, and was almost seen as being a leader. And I got, I guess, almost shot down for that, like put out in front, and there was a big target on me from there. But then this time around, there was a genuine sense of appreciation. Like people were actually, I don't know, and I think I don't know, maybe going from, instead of being just a first time returning player to being a second time returning player, is that people were really appreciative of what I was doing for them, and the help that I was giving, like teaching people how to make fire, or just helping them out, or just checking in and making sure the people were okay. And so it was really a really nice tribe that I was on, like this time around, that just made for a really pleasurable experience. That this original bounty tribe was one of my favorites that I've had whatsoever. It was really nice, and I feel like it actually, something I really put down. I put a lot of emphasis on the reasoning behind that is winning the shelter, where you don't have that initial scramble period that like people go off to strategize when they should be helping, and there's no initial conflict there. So it really brought everyone together, and it allowed me to work very hard on those connections, which I really needed to add value to absolutely everyone, where I ended up in a place where I had a relationship with everyone.
That's so good. And look, you've got to tell us, did you actually use your code word with Harry at all? Your bad rise? We didn't see it in the show.
We didn't see it. We didn't see it in the show, but it was more like, it was more when we could catch up, and it was more like off camera. There's an element of just checking in there and stuff. So we did use it quite a bit. But I guess on camera we were actually able to like just talk. Yeah. Normally there was never any opportunities to really like
Go full secret agent mode.
Yeah, and it was like because, and we actually tried not to have many chats on camera.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
sorry, and because like, sorry, we never had many chats in general. Like, just we didn't like being seen hanging
Yeah.
around each other. So it was just like a really quick in passing. Whilst we're waiting to go off to challenge, like when we're eating breakfast, it's just like, hey, quick check in. When it's like the whole group's there, we can have a quick little, just mental check in and just make sure we're both kind of doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good.
And you were doing okay. That whole start of the game, you were awesome. And then the
Oh.
back end, that this middle bit sort of came around and the back end, but your through line throughout the entire journey was your challenge prowess. You
Yeah, it's
are
pretty
just
cool.
amazing, my friend. Like, how did you get so good at these challenges? So many different types of challenges. It was just amazing work, man.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, it's something that I definitely don't take for granted. And like, as someone who is, a pretty good all-rounder in what I've done, but I never cracked it in any kind of professional sport or anything like that. It's kind of really nice to be able to find my feet here. And I think I've had one of the best challenge runs of all time. I actually, like on paper, I think that Kalen's obviously immunity run was insane,
Yeah.
winning the 7 individuals. Brian Lake was won the most challenges in a season, but he went to final. He came, did he go out fourth or 4 or 3?
Yeah, yeah.
And for me to go out at 8 and have a similar
have that,
record
yeah.
to win 21, 22 challenges, like it was actually insane the run that I had. I won every single reward challenge apart from the car and that fish for like the shopping challenge there.
Yeah, wow.
And so, and then obviously, and then every single immunity challenge, every end game that I was a part of, I converted, I won. So it was
Yeah.
like the ones that I didn't do was, yeah, so it's pretty crazy. But, I'm always trying to put myself in a position where like, where can I relieve the pinch point? Like as a big, strong guy,
Yeah.
I know that I can maneuver a tribe through an obstacle course or through a challenge like no one else, and be able to do that. So it's been pretty cool. And like, I I love the challenges. I love
Yeah.
this game because they are so fun, and everyone talks about how awesome they are. Sort of, to have that as a pillar is amazing. But I would love to play this game without the challenges because just what that would mean for me, like how then you have to rely on your
Different approach.
social
Yeah,
and
exactly.
your
Yeah.
strategic side of things because it gets to this point in the game. It's like, hey, you win 3 immunities, you start winning all the reward challenges. See you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and that's always a bit of a tough one, but it comes with the territory.
Well, that's right. But you talk about relationships, and I feel like this time you did build stronger and better and wider
Yeah.
relationships. And so I want to just delve into a few of them now quickly. Who was actually your number one? Who did you feel was your number one out there?
Harry at the start was
Yep.
definitely there.
Yeah.
I felt like the wider group was Lottie, Paula, Harry, and myself. I really felt that there was something there. Then Loz was my person, was almost my bargaining chip, like the one that I bought in to protect, but was happy to compromise on when I needed to.
Yep.
And spent a lot of time, looking after her, protecting her, but then could use her as leverage when I needed to. Rich I was really close with, but then in that early stage, I also had I had this perfect clarity out there, which was incredible. That I knew where I needed to be before, I could see it coming, it was clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that my hole in a couple of days' time would have been with if Arsha and Cameron got away from me, if I didn't have that relationship there, it would have all fallen apart. So I went up to Arsha after a challenge, was like, whatever happens, I am voting with you. It doesn't I am with you. I'd had a couple of conversations with her that didn't quite land, but I'm like, I just want to show that I am with you no matter what. And landing that, and then that being that relationship being critical in that 24, 48 hours time was just awesome to be able to have that kind of foresight there. But it was very much a hive mind tribe. Everyone was really working closely there. And then as we moved through, Brooke was an imperative part of my relationship, and Beauty and the Beast doesn't happen without me and Brooke and I there. And then obviously Mark going into merge. But Rich is obviously such a huge part of my game. And then Lottie, I couldn't have done it without Lottie. She was just she was my person at the end of the day, and we had so much in common, and we played the game in a kind of similar way, and we got along, and we were both there. We weren't there to muck around. Like, we were there to make the most of it and to play hard whilst we were away from our families.
Yeah. So that relationship, you mentioned Rich.
Yeah.
So it seemed like you and Rich were very tight. You were giving him immunity idols. You were saying save Rich, all this sort of stuff. So what happened with that relationship when you got back together and ultimately you voted out Rich in that crazy tribal council?
Yeah.
How did that sort of come about?
Yeah. So Rich is someone oh my God, like, he's one of my favorite people. We've got so much time for him, and such a lovely man. And the bond that we had was very special. He came up to the beach on the first day and was like, I had a vision that I would be on a beach with you in Samoa. And I was just on from there. Like, he was so good. And he was my little Survivor encyclopedia. And we got along so well. And then when we split, there were a couple of kind of objectives that I have here. It's like, there's a way that I can, obviously want to, keep our original numbers strong when we were down pre-merge. Then it's also it's a good look for me to be loyal to someone, and and being obviously loyal across the tribe, Matt. Like, and the bluffing challenge, just like completely. I didn't want to show my hand in that. That was a horrible. Like, I couldn't believe that Brooke did what she did for a piece of pie. Like, holy crap! Like, so. And then and also speaking to Mark, it was also another, like, here's a way that we can kind of connect and have something there. And I could test Mark to see how he was going, and would he be inclined to just like turf Rich or look after him when we're kind of making these bargains and stuff like that. And then when it came to, like, the I guess the Mark Rich vote, like, I didn't want to do it. There was no way that I would have voted for Rich, but Mark was in a state. He was, he had a lot going on. He was very emotional, trying to navigate through a very difficult period where he's got, his alliance of the returnees, like Loz and Rich, have flipped on us. He's having the conversations with Ben, and he was on another level. There was no negotiating with Mark. He was irate at the time. So I suggest, like, say, stick to the plan, like, just to keep doing Ben and just, get it out. He's like, nah. I'm like, can we do Loz? He's like, nah, they want to do Rich. And so it was really hard to, when I didn't have a point of negotiation or compromise there. And, Mark at the time, and he kind of spoke about, was looking to kind of, depower me a little bit by taking out one of those allies.
Neutral,
which was interesting. Like, I felt like he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder at that kind of point. I can understand it from his point, from a strategic point of view, but sometimes looking out for your allies there is really important. And I don't think he was looking out for me, because, like, Rich was one. Like, yes, he obviously burned our trust after we spent a couple of hours the night before and days leading up to, like, coming together. Loz wanted to come together with Mark, and had that relationship with Brooke when they would swap the idol at the start and stuff. It all come together. But then as soon as, the kind of Mark train came, that Loz and Rich drifted away. And then everything that I had worked for in that moment, like, fell apart, because my closest allies at that point in time, with the returnees, with Mark and Brooke, and then my two people who I hadn't voted out yet, Rich and Loz, were split. And I was like, what do I do right now? Mark turns to me very late, shows me he has the idol, and instead of voting for Mark, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna end up with the returnees here and at least be on the right side of the vote.
Yeah, and that's sometimes all you can do. Sometimes just get on the right side of the vote. You mentioned about some of your votes, like the Asia vote. In that moment, you sort of lose Lottie a bit. After that, you've got the Rich vote. Obviously, you lose the BVB guys. The Blanche vote, you put that extra vote on Brooke. Were there a few of these things? Were you just trying to always be one step ahead of them turning on you, or because at the end of it, it did feel like a lot of the people that you were working closely with had fallen away?
Yeah. No, it was just about, like, just navigating my way through as best I kind of could. Like, it became very clear that, on the Arsh blindside, that she just had a single track mind to take out Brooke, and she wanted the returnees gone there. And then it was a really difficult decision for me to manage my relationship with Lottie off the back of that. And the information that I had with Lottie, like, I wanted to I would have done anything to be able to have my cake and eat it too. Or, and, I would have loved to be able to prioritize Lottie over Ash, but I just couldn't because of where I would have sat within that I would have been on the bottom of that newbie alliance and just picked off, and that would have been really hard. But Lottie, the information that I had was that Lottie didn't want to work with Mark or Keely. And so like seeing that and coming like, yeah, I could have come back into the fold and say voted Jackson there to get back in her good books. But it was like when she said that she didn't want to work with Mark and that was kind of done. And then Jackson needed to go. I'm like, oh, this is not good. Yeah. But then I had like Loz and Rich who were interested in working with Mark, and like I opted for a shield strategy. That's what I invested in.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, there are sacrifices that you have to make along the way. And, I came out here and I was like, there is nothing like playing for the third time. Like, and you know what it's like to, leave a child at home. Like, I'm not going to put anyone else's game before my own at this point. So I had to make a couple of really difficult decisions after threading the needle in the middle ground for so long. But there comes a time where you have to make your bed, and you can't do it all. And at the time, I made the best decisions for what I could have done, and with the information, I felt like I did the right thing. And I can't see it going, any other way.
Yeah. Now, I've got a couple of quick fire questions about some of the tribal councils you were at. So,
yep, shoot.
One of them, so on the Rich tribal council with the Mark play, were you sort of a bit annoyed that your fake idol sort of got burnt in front of everyone for no real benefit of your own? Was that?
Yeah, it was a bit shit. Yeah. Like to be honest, like I don't think it needed to happen.
Yeah.
And it was like, like Mark, are you an ally or are you just like, like where do you actually sit here? And that was a bit tough to swallow.
Yeah.
It didn't need to happen. So I think that, it kind of showed Mark's hand, but thankfully Mark was still sucking so much oxygen out of the game that eyes were still turned on him as opposed to coming to me. So, I was like, he's making his own bed. I can't see him hanging around for too much longer.
Yeah. The Mark vote out in that one, after that, you gave a lot of credit to Caleb. You said, oh, Caleb, great job. This is great. It annoyed Ben. Was that on purpose that you were sort of niggling Ben a little bit? Or was it literally like you knew Caleb had done it?
Well, yeah, I think that, when one person still makes that decision, regardless of how they
what's set up,
how they do it, like, I think there's still like a bit of an education side of things to come along and be shown there. So like, I didn't know how much was running around behind the scenes because Mark was very much so managing that relationship, and like that's fine when he was the one with all the risk to. It was his game on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was kind of fine to sit back and go, yeah, whatever. No, it wasn't intentional to get under Ben's skin on that. But just showing that, when people do these things, it can be subtle. You can subtly make a big move, and that's fine. Yeah. I was just glad to see people just like moving and shaking. That's what I still like. I needed to get going because that was important for my game.
Yeah, 100%. Now, do you think Does Jackson flip because of this fantastic WWE conversation you have with him at Tribal? I absolutely love that.
Man, I peppered in for like 72 hours to come to that realization. Yeah. And it was just a combination of everything that I'd been working towards to getting in his ear and stuff like that. And it helped. It was... it got him over the line. But legitimately, when he slammed that door in my face and went, this is show business, baby. This is my show, and it's Brooke. I was like, oh, okay, this is not good. And then we had maybe 10 minutes left, and I saw him. He was sitting down at the other end of Tribal Council, and his body language changed. He sunk down into his chair, and about like 2 minutes to go, he just kind of nodded at me, and I turned to Keely and go, holy fuck, it's happening. Like, it's actually happening. And in that, he made that decision. And then when he walked back from voting, he was just so down. And because I knew how emotionally hard that vote was for him. And, it was beautiful. It was bloody beautiful, mate.
Was that probably your favorite move in the season?
I think I really love the Arsha blindside where I was able to control the timings. And I really feel like I stitched together that alliance so well. Like there was a lot of work I did in the background to pull that together, and making someone throw a challenge on their own merit when I could have thrown the fire challenge, but I made Arsha do it and Arsha going home. That was
Yeah.
really cool. But to have a social move like that under my belt where I didn't need any tools, I didn't need anything, and it was purely me, and she comes across that way. After everything that I have been through and stumbled across in this game, the Jackson move there was incredible. And like the fact that it still looks like Jackson's move, but if I make it to the final tribal council, it's right there on a platter for me.
100%. Now, your rock lie, this I'm going to take two in the bag. Did this ultimately, was this something that you came into the game going, hey, this is an interesting mechanic that I could play with? Is something that came up in the moment? And did it ultimately sort of backfire in the sense that Jackson was then, yeah, great, let's go to rocks. And then you would have had to have got to that point where you said, actually, I can't do this. I lied to you. And you would have been in trouble.
Yeah. So a couple of elements of play here. No, that was just thinking on the fly. And I'm so proud that I've had a couple of moments in this season, like handing over the necklace to Rich and then coming up with a new strategy with rocks. Like that's blue sky thinking that we haven't seen in 12 seasons of Survivor. So like really freaking cool that, I own that. Look, white lies. Yes. Was I nervous? Yes. I was going to just put on the Simon dumb face and go, I have no idea. Like, this is like, what do you mean I can't take a rock? And technically I was even safe there.
Yeah.
And look, there's a part of me that I know the rules. I think I can't remember, it's number 84 and that's ABCD when it goes down to rocks on the official rules. Yeah. There is also a rule in there that like everything is at the discretion of the producers. So I know that this is a lie. I know that technically I cannot, but I was half expecting if we get to that point, the producer will turn around and just for the sake of the show,
good TV,
that they go. So there is a part of me that going, this is not good. Like this could happen, but I would have done it. I would have loved to go to rocks. I would have pulled the rocks, and I think that there is something that would be so poetic about everything that I have been through to be the first person to go home to rocks just after my hapless journey in this game. So it would have been an absolute cherry on top.
So amazing, my friend. Look, and 100 days, getting to 100 days out there, such a huge accomplishment, my friend, and such a journey when we think back to you in Brains versus Brawn and your two idols, just to see where you came. What an amazing Survivor journey. Like,
it's wild, hey.
It's so cool, man. It's so cool. As we wrap up now, is there anything that maybe wasn't shown on TV or anything you want to share with the fans?
Oh, no, I think the only thing to share is just in overall reflection. It's just a massive thank you because this journey hasn't been, anything like without them. It's been so much fun. And it hasn't been easy for me. Like I've been through some of the darkest and some of the best days I've ever had out there. And, I didn't do it quietly and I did it my own way. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's kind of supported and come along and, cheered for me, against me. Yeah. And the players I've played with and the people I've crossed paths with along the way. It's been awesome. So this community has given me so much and I've had so much fun. So yeah, thank you for everything. Because this little fanboy who grew up watching this first generation of Survivor, of Survivor Australia in particular, I didn't think that I always said if I couldn't win this game, I'd love to leave my mark on this game, and I have left one hell of a legacy, which I did not think I would be.
So good, my friend. And to wrap things up, I love movies here at Survivor Debrief. So we ask everyone that comes on, what is their favourite film, Simon? I
have the same one as Faith, Fight Club. It's a special one in my heart, but then also Jurassic Park. Like which I know we share very, very good. Yes. But a little quick one. In terms of a movie buff, but gaming has been a huge one for me recently. I've just got into Pokemon Unbound. So that's a ROM hack. So anyone who's any of my Pokemon fans out there, if you get into that, message me because I'm I want to hear about it.
Squirtle Squad. Get around the Squirtle Squad.
Yeah.
That's so good. Mate, it was absolute pleasure to talk to you. We loved watching you out there. You brought your classic Simon energy to the season, and it wouldn't have been the same without you, my friend. So we thank you very much.
Thank you, mate, and love the hat, mate. Appreciate it.
Get around it. See you next time, mate. Catch up soon. Bye.